everybody. Thanks again for joining in. Today we're going to be doing some pie crust, homemade pie crust. So from now on, you don't need to go to the store and grab any more pie crust. You can make it right here. And it's so simple that you'll be wondering, why haven't I been doing this all along? So I want to show you just a few things, a few ingredients that it's going to take to make the pie crust. We're going to put it together. Then after that, we're going to come back on another clip and show you some things that you can do with the pie crust that's super easy. It's not just pies that you can make with this pie crust. There's so many great things that you can use it for. So let's get started. First, we're going to start off with 2 cups of flour. Just all-purpose flour. And what you can do, again, this has already been kind of gone through, fluffed up in my canister. But if you're taking it right out of the bag and it has some lumps in it, you may want to run that through a sifter, okay? So I'm going to do 2 full cups. This is a 1/3 measuring cup that's in this container. So I'm going to put 6 of those in here, which is going to be 2 cups. And I'm just leveling it off kind of with my finger. And I'm going to keep the flour out because we're going to be using it in just a little bit to roll it out on the next clip and to be able to make a few things. I'm going to show you a few things that we can do with it. It's going to be great. So the next to this is we're going to add 1 teaspoon of salt, just regular salt, regular table salt. And then we're going to add to that 2/3 cup of Crisco vegetable shortening. So if you have a different generic brand of vegetable shortening, you can use that. I love Crisco. Crisco's a great brand that I use in most of all of my cooking. So now that we have all of this together, there's a couple of different tools that you can use. You can just grab a fork and start mixing it, or you can grab a pastry cutter. If you have a pastry cutter, sometimes that's a little bit easier to use. You can use either or. I'm actually going to flip and use my pastry cutter just because I really like using it. To me, it seems to mix it a little bit better. It's good for, pastry cutters are good for like bigger dough masses. You know, like if you were gonna be making, this pie crust here with the 2 cups of flour, this will make 2 crusts. So if you're making, say, an apple pie, okay, this will make 1 good size apple pie, like a 10-inch apple pie. If you're making some smaller ones, then you might be able to get away with it making just a little bit more than that. I mean, it does give you some extra, you know, it does give you a little bit of extra on the end. So all I'm doing with the pastry cutter is just cutting in the vegetable shortening in with the flour and the salt. So to this point, there's no liquid in it. Now, very similar, if you've tuned in and watched my biscuit channel show, that you would see that you can mix that as much as you want before the liquid, okay? And this is the same thing. Now, there's no leavening in this mixture because it's pie crust, so we don't need to make it rise, make it really fluffy, or anything like that. So we don't need any baking powder or baking soda or anything. So 2 cups of flour, 1 teaspoon of salt, and 2/3 cup of vegetable shortening. Now I'm going to show you that, and you can kind of see it right there. There are some little balls of the shortening, but you can kind of feel it with your fork. It feels dense. Okay, the flour is nice and dense. So to this point, we're ready to add the liquid. And to the liquid, what the liquid is just plain cold water. 2/3 cup of cold water. So if you remember the same amount of shortening to the same amount of water, you'll be all set, okay? So the 2 cups of flour, and then 2/3. Okay, so it's kind of easy to memorize. This recipe is really easy, really, really easy. So I make sure that the water is nice and cold. That helps with the flakiness of the pie crust too. So my mother made so many pies in my life. I remember when I was growing up and we were teenagers, in our youth group at church, we would have bake sales. And I remember her making, like, we used to raise money to, you know, go on different outings and things like that when I was a youth. And probably a lot of you that were in my youth group remember that. So we used to have tons of bake sales at the local grocery store. It's not there anymore. But she would just make 15 like apple pies, and they would all sell. Everybody's like, is this Janice's pies? Yes, it is. So, and everybody would buy them up. So she was amazing, amazing pie maker. So I'm grateful to be able to take some of her talents and use them here today. So you notice with this pie crust, I'm not getting crazy with it. I'm just gonna stir it just a little bit. I've only turned it just a few times, and that's it, I'm done. Now, it's not completely all incorporated, but it is just enough to be able to absorb the water into the flour, okay? So what we're going to do now is I'm gonna move kind of some of this stuff out of the way, and we're gonna take a little bit of the flour, and move that right over there. And we're gonna kind of sprinkle it here on the counter, just to make a nice little area for it. And I'm gonna go ahead with my hand and just kind of squeeze it. I want you to kind of see what I'm doing here. See how I'm just kind of squeezing it? Now, yes, this is going to make a little bit of a mess, but what's a little bit of cooking without a little bit of a mess, right? So, now, I'm not handling it too much. That's about it. There's still, if I was to pick all of this up, you'd be able to still see there's some in the bottom of it. That's totally fine. If you take the dough and you keep working it and you keep working it, it's just going to get tough. And you want nice flaky pie crust. So what I'm gonna do right now is I'm gonna grab about half of it, about half the mixture, and bring it out onto my floured board here. I'm gonna take a little bit of extra flour and just sprinkle the top and sprinkle my hand a little bit, because then I'm gonna use my rolling pin. Use whatever rolling pin is gonna be the easiest for you. I have a silicone one, I have some wooden ones. Kind of depends, I have ones with handles, I have ones that don't have handles. So I have lots of different rolling pins. I don't know why I have so many rolling pins. I don't know, I just see one and say, oh, that's cute, I really like that one. So as you can see, all I'm doing here is I'm just rolling it out into, if you're gonna make a pie, this would be your bottom crust, everybody. Now, like I said, this is going to make 2 of these. So if you had an apple pie, or say you're making 2 pumpkin pies, pumpkin is one of my favorite. You could make 2 pumpkin pies with this one recipe of pie crust. So it's so super easy. Now, you wanna get this fairly thin, not so thin that it's gonna break, okay? But I'm not folding it over. I'm not really tugging and pulling and stretching. There's, you know, it kind of cracks a little bit. Just piece it together with your fingers and just try to handle it very lightly. Okay? So, and that is about it. Now, there's one thing before we take a break and come back on another clip, I'm gonna show you. We're gonna do one thing today, right away, and then I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna show you what I'm gonna make with the other ones. Pie crust you can do anything with, okay? You can put some like jam. I have some homemade raspberry jam, and you could dollop that jam in little pieces, and then you could take what I'm gonna show you that's just absolutely so cool is a ravioli cutter. And you can bake ravioli jam tarts. They're just so super easy. I'm gonna grab my ravioli tart press, and this, if you don't have one, that's totally fine. Just fold it over and cut squares. But this little doohickey, I got this at Williams-Sonoma. My favorite store in the whole world is Williams-Sonoma. So what I'm going to do is take and drop little drops of raspberry jam, fold it over, and press it with my ravioli and bake them off into little tiny ravioli tarts. We're gonna take a quick break. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna fold it over, and when we come back, I'll have them all placed out and I'll show you how it's done. We'll be right back.